The allegory shows that the first century Jews who had rejected Christ and persecuted the saints were the ones who were cast out. It shows them in bondage and not inheriting the promise. But the allegory also shows those who were in Christ had inherited the promise. In the first century, the Jewish nation that had rejected Christ was described as being in bondage, just like Hagar and Ishmael were. That's what Paul said. Paul was a Jew who turned to Christ, so this is significant. This is Galatians 4, verses 22 through 24. For it is written that Abraham had two sons, one by a bondwoman, that's Sarah's maidservant Hagar, who gave birth to Ishmael, and one by a free woman, that's Abraham's wife, Sarah, who gave birth to Isaac. But the son, Ishmael, of the bondwoman, Hagar, was born according to the flesh, while the son, Isaac, of the free woman, Sarah, was born through the promise. Now, this may be interpreted allegorically. These women are two covenants. The allegory will now compare those in the first century who were still following the covenant from Moses given at Mount Sinai and compare them to those who were in the covenant of Christ. So Galatians 4:24-25 continues, one is from Mount Sinai, bearing children for bondage. She is Hagar. And now Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia. She corresponds to the present Jerusalem, for she is in slavery with her children. So unrepentant Israel was tagged as the bondwoman Hagar. And the unbelieving Jews at the time, they were tagged as her children in bondage. And then in verse 26, but the Jerusalem above is free and she is our mother. So that passage explains that the Jerusalem above is free and she is our city. And in verse 31, it says, so brothers, we are not children of the slave, but of the free woman. Again, the allegory shows that the first century Jews who had rejected Christ and persecuted the saints were the ones who were cast out. It shows them in bondage and not inheriting the promise. But the allegory also shows those who were in Christ had inherited the promise.